All right, I have 6 o'clock on the computer here. I'm going to call this meeting to order. I'll say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, so we've got mostly budget stuff to talk about today, but there are a couple of other loose ends we need to tie up before the end of the month, which is tomorrow. So as remember, George and Mindy resigned from our wastewater treatment plant, and IDEM says we are not allowed to have a gap in coverage for a certified or licensed operator. So Pete and I, over the last couple of weeks, worked on getting a hold of a few different companies and kind of entertained or interviewed, or however you want to word it, some different people. We only were able to get actual quotes from 2 different companies. One is Wastewater Operations Corp., and the other is Utility Management and Construction, LLC. The Wastewater Operations Corp., there's 2 printouts in front of you on there. The first one is it's a quote for a 1-year contract. And then the second page is a contract for 3 years. The quote goes down a little bit. We get a small discount. Small discount. What? It was a difference of about $100 or $80 a month or something like that. Anyway, not very much. But anyway, it's a discount. And then utility management is on its own paper there, $42,000 a year or $3,500 a month. And each of these papers kind of goes through what the company does for us. So the company has multiple employees, so it wouldn't necessarily always be the same person down here doing the wastewater treatment plant operation stuff. They would send, people based on their availability, that kind of stuff. But both groups said they would have somebody down here every day, depending on the needs. They would do all the normal required testing and cleaning operations, that kind of stuff at the wastewater treatment plant. So, and they would also be on call, which it seems like from these quotes, Wastewater Operators Corp., they include the on-call amount in the quote itself, whereas utility management and construction, that's an additional fee of $85 per hour for them to come in off hours for emergencies and that kind of stuff.
So utility management is $42,000
a year for the basic operations of it, not counting emergency after hours response to any kind of issues. And then that would be $85 an hour above and beyond the $42,000. I don't know how often that happens. Did George and Mindy ever report that they had to be?
Whenever there was like a big rain or something, that they had to come out and check it, I would think that it would probably come into play then, but I don't know.
Okay.
That's what I would say. Wouldn't you do this?
Well, I've heard
Okay.
over the years, yes.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, so any questions, comments, thoughts on those 2
So
quotes?
both of these are just what George used to call inside the fence.
Correct.
So we still don't have anybody outside the fence.
Correct.
And how
But
much
IDEM
was-
doesn't care about outside the fence. They told me flat. I called IDEM, just to check, what does our permit require? What are the issues when we have somebody who resigns and then we have to get somebody else? And they said, we don't allow any gaps in coverage. But they told me, we don't care about your sanitary sewer collection system at all. They don't regulate that. They just regulate the plant. So they want somebody hired to cover that.
Okay, and how much were we paying George?
George and Minnie together was,
I had right around 3,100 a month, but that was just my rough calculation based on the gateway numbers.
I need a phone. I need a calculator. You have a calculator? That may be too much. Take 1,750 times 24.
42,000.
Okay, so that's what they were making, about 42,000.
Okay.
Because his pay before taxes, I believe, was like 1449. I mean, I'm gonna look. But it seems like when I did his taxes, his was like 38 and hers was about 4,000. So I think it's about 42,000 a year. I think, roughly.
So these are not like exorbitant
No.
outside the range of what George and Minnie were getting. These are pretty darn close to about the same amount.
Right. But we still don't have anybody outside the fence.
Correct.
Well, we didn't have before.
Well, George was doing it, but we should have been paying him different for it, but.
That company we talked to the other day, but what we put sensors in, that was where the.
540 Technologies.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. I mean, Pete and I have reached out to a company. We're just still in the beginning stages of talking to them, but they help municipalities and, get a handle on I&I, upkeep and repairs of sanitary sewer. So they would be a company that would do that. We just don't have numbers from them yet.
Yeah,
We met with them on Tuesday morning. Was that when we met with them? So we have reached out to somebody that could potentially help us with that. It's just that we
Right.
don't know where that's gonna go yet until we can get a quote and then present it at the next board meeting. But that part we're not on a time crunch on that part
Right.
because this is what IDEM cares about. Do you have a certified operator for your wastewater treatment plant?
As in Saturday.
Right. June 1st, we have to have somebody in place, or IDEM could impose fines, although she wouldn't tell me like what those fines would amount to, or even if they would. I mean, it was really kind of a vague conversation, but they don't want to get painted into a corner, I guess. But
now I see this utility management says that we can terminate this agreement upon 30 days written notice. I would so much rather have somebody in-house than having a company do it, because you said they'll be sending whoever they want to send out here. So we're not gonna have anybody that's going to that's gonna know what's going on, okay, oh, Harry told you that? Oh, I don't remember Harry saying this, So I would much rather have somebody in-house. Now, if we have to go with one of these people just to get ourselves covered, I still want us to try to find somebody like a George to do this.
Well, and when I reached out to Bannon Engineering, I reached out to IDEM, I reached out to lots of different kind of people involved in that industry, and they said that the number of individual people who are doing this for their own, you know, as their own, like, private George working for one place, that's dwindling down to nothing. So that everything's going to a company. In fact, IDEM sent us an Excel spreadsheet of all the different potential people to hire, and they were all companies. Every single one of them was a company that does this kind of stuff. And Stylesville reached out to us saying, hey, I lost my wastewater treatment plant operator and I need somebody to hire, and they were trying to see if we had somebody that would be willing to do that, but, which I think it was because George was also working for them, is what I think was,
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a voicemail right now.
yeah.
They wanted to know what the recommendation was.
Yeah, I got one this morning.
Now, I did, when I talked to IDEM, they said, you know, both of these companies are in good standing, have current licensure that's not, you know, they're not on probation or anything like that. So they said they couldn't recommend one or the other. They just said these companies are within good standing and they work with them all the time. But literally the last couple of weeks, Pete and I tried hunting down an individual that we could, you know, see about getting an application in and stuff, and nobody said, oh yeah, here's the name of a person that could do it. It was all companies. But even with, you know, hiring one of these companies, we can still continue looking.
Yes.
If that's what you want to do. It's just a matter of, I know our frustration the last couple of weeks was just there's not any one person standing out there on the corner going, I do wastewater treatment.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought in George's resignation letter, he said he had a name of a person, and I emailed him to ask him who that might be and to get us their name, but he never replied to my email, so.
But yeah, he did say that he has someone in mind.
Come on. I'm done with it.
Any other questions on these companies that did submit a proposal?
Did we ask these two companies if they take care of any other towns?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so who else do they,
So Wastewater Operators Corp. has multiple towns that they work with, Monrovia, Echo Lake, and then some other place up further north. But I called and talked to the town manager and the president of the town council in Monrovia, and they had nothing but great things to say about Wastewater Operators Corp. They said that they've been doing that, their plant for years, and they said they've just had no problems with it. They give them a monthly report on here's all the things that are going on at your wastewater treatment plant each month, and you know, they typically they feel like they're very well informed on all the information out there. So same kind of things with, you know, the utility management. Everybody I've reached out to had the same thing to say about them. So there was literally in you know, all of our interactions and everything, references I looked up or talked to, they both are the same from that perspective.
well, I would make a motion to accept the wastewater operators' 1-year contract.
Okay, I have a first motion.
I'll second.
I got a second motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, so we will work on a one-year contract with Wastewater Operators Corp., starting on June 1st.
We're here if anyone has any questions too. Sorry, we thought it was at 6:30.
Was it 6? Sorry. And that'd be my.
No worries. All right, motion carried, so
Wonderful, thank you.
thank you. And then what was the other part I wanted to look at? I don't need to worry about that today. That we'll next town council meeting, we'll talk about that. That doesn't need to be dealt with today. But, oh, insurance, that was the other thing we have to decide, because June 8th, our insurance expires, and we have to have a renewal, but before then. So if we wait till next town council meeting, we'll have lapsed on our insurance. And I don't know if anything will happen, but you know how Murphy says, anything that can go wrong will. So last month, Pete gave us a proposal from G&A, and they had two separate quotes in theirs, a premium and a Gefelter. Am I saying it all right? Gladfelt or something like that. Gladfelter. Anyway. And then NFP submitted their numbers for renewal with them.
Okay, Doug, on the G&A, if you look at page 5, you know, the question you had, and I called them back to make sure. Outdoor properties. That's what covers the sign, the playground equipment, all that stuff.
And I'm assuming that neither one of these has the new tractor in here, so the premium's gonna go up because of that, correct?
A little bit.
On both, either one?
Yeah, any of the insurance carriers will cover something.
And the way it was
New
explained
like
to me on the workman's comp, means how we don't have the 10-day notice, that the workman's comp would still have to go through NFP for another year, which would be $3,120. And then this company would pick it back up the following year.
So.
And NFP would be willing to do that to,
I have to do it, I've done check.
Who's gonna explain to me what a Gladfelter is?
what a what?
The Gladfelters.
Oh, that's just the name of the underwriter, the insurance carrier.
Okay.
that-
Yeah.
Yeah. They probably come up with names for companies by using a boggle game.
Yeah.
And we have our insurance right now with the NFP.
NFP.
Yes.
And on the NFP, page 4. Okay. When it says WO, the regular total premium without TRIA, that's terrorism. We don't have that to start with. That's $394 a year. So that's why there's two different cost there. The bottom one's with the terrorism. I don't think we have too much terrorism in Pelham.
Well, and I mean, it can encompass a lot of things. I mean, Ascension Health just had a pretty major issue with cyber terrorism. They had a company that hacked their computers and shut down their hospital. Pretty,
Is that the one we have right now? Yeah, it has to be because of the new one we have, no 60. Just talking notes with them.
Oh, sorry.
no, that's right.
Yeah, 2,000.
So someone at NFP told you we have to continue your workman's comp
I
if,
didn't talk to NFP.
oh,
I talked to GA because they're the ones that's not gonna get the workman's comp. And they explained to me how it works, and that's what they told me.
how does that work where GNA gets to say what NFP has to
I don't know, I guess you'll have to call them.
continue to carry? I mean,
They're all in the
I'm
insurance
just saying,
business.
right, I don't know. That just seems odd. I mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't think I could tell, you know, another company that you have to continue this coverage.
Well, I would think we could just go to IPAP on our own to get workman's comp, because
Yeah.
that's who all the workman's comp is.
And
through.
if there's only one company in Indiana that does it,
Yeah, which is who we have, anytime, any insurance we have, even with Ralph,
yeah.
our workman's comp was through IPAP.
Sure. Questions, thoughts?
Well, I definitely don't think we need to go with this 41,000.
Oh, no.
And the other two are pretty close together, correct?
8,000 difference. 8,419 dollars.
But NFP's already included the workman's comp though,
Well, that's why I
There's-
put your figures.
so.
So, there is no workman comp on, this G and A? There-
Correct.
It
Okay.
does not include
Okay, it's 19,520 without workman's comp.
without.
If you added $3,120, that's workman's comp per year, it's 22,640.
For GNA. Right?
Yes.
Okay,
But they wouldn't be able to do that for this year though.
No, but we'd still put out the same amount of money, it'd just be with two
Yeah.
companies.
I'm just trying to get to where I'm doing apples and apples and apples together here, so I can figure it out. So, what you're saying is that you can get the workman's comp and we don't have to go through this NFP at all?
No.
I would imagine you can. I mean, I would think you could just go through IPAP and get it. But if whoever he's talked to in the insurance business says that we can go ahead and get our workman's comp through NFP and our insurance through GNA, it'd be the same difference, I would think.
Yeah.
I'm not an insurance agent, I only play one on TV.
So I don't know.
This is all, just a lot.
I know. But if I was doing this in the flower shop, I'd say the 19,000.
Yeah, the 41 is quite a bit.
And, yeah, the 19,000 and staying with NFP for the workman's
See,
comp.
the whole problem is we didn't have 10 days. You have to notify them 10 days prior to switch the workman's comp to another company.
Oh,
See, we don't have, what is it, 9 days we have now? Or,
yeah.
yeah, let's see, 8. Yeah, 9 days is all we got left.
What did you say John left a letter?
John has
Of course
his,
we did.
John has his proxy vote.
Does he say who he,
He
What-
says, after looking at insurance quotes and NFP, I vote for GNA, John Kelly, Town Council 52924.
okay, so he's
Sure he
saying
did
what
with
I
GNA,
say, go with the
American.
cheaper guy and,
It says I vote for in a GNA. That's John, at least he's not here to ask a bunch of questions.
He might be watching.
Well, that's true. It's true. He's probably got everybody
Right,
in the
well,
room
and-
watching us.
I know, I mean, just NFP has, you know, provided us, pretty good insurance, and they, really helped us out, with our settlement last November. So that's probably why the premium has gone up with them, just as a
Right.
note on that. And, when I asked Andy about it, on the Zoom, he said he was aware of the settlement, but he didn't have any other details, so, I mean, I don't know what they consider our risk with that,
I
but,
think there's a certain amount of time it has to go by, and then it drops off.
well, that's usually about 12 years. So, most insurance companies will consider that a risk for at least 12 years, so.
well, I will make a motion that we go with the black filters. 19,520, and keep the workman's comp with NFP 4,309.
Okay, got a first motion?
I'll second.
Got a second motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
All opposed? All right. Did you say aye, in
Aye.
favor? Okay,
Aye.
in favor.
In favor,
All right,
yes.
all right, so motion carries. All right, we solved our wastewater treatment plant conundrum, and we have insurance coverage for the next year. Thank you, everyone. All right, now we can move on to our budget for the year 2025. So, I invited a guest, two guests. I didn't know I was inviting two guests, but, so.
This is Michael. He's with us.
Hi, Michael. All right, and this is Greg. Everybody knows Greg.
Hi.
And actually,
Hello.
Don might not know Greg.
No, I was
but-
gonna say I haven't met Dawn before.
Okay, all right.
Dawn, I'm Greg.
Hi, I'm Dawn.
And that's Mike.
Hi, Mike.
And we're with FSC Corp. in Plainfield, Indiana. So we didn't take us long to get here. And I live in the county, so perfect.
Just south of us a little ways, right?
Yeah,
Very good.
exactly.
Okay.
Not one of the, I'm not one of those big expensive houses. I'm actually one of those little ones off of 39. So.
Very good. All right, so do you want to go first?
So
Is
I,
that-
so I did bring a piece of paper to focus us
Okay.
on the 2025 budget.
Very
and
good.
so if you want to take one, John, and pass it around. Take one, there's just one. And then I'll pass it down here. There's one for you. And I did want to, did you get, Gina, did you get the pennies
Jenny.
from, Jenny? Did you get the pennies from heaven, what we call pennies from heaven memo? So
Not
the
much in this afternoon, but I
supplemental
can-
lit. So I'm gonna send this around too, if you wanna glance at it, and then we can, give it to the clerk and let her have it, but you'll see, so the first thing in a budget, when we're looking at 2025 budget, is that we kind of look at a couple things, and at this point in time, we look at this thing called supplemental lit that's coming around. You're going to get additional LIT or local income taxes in, you'll get it, you probably should get a check tomorrow, or an EFT tomorrow, and it'll be broken down by the public safety, not the public safety, it won't come in on that, but edit and certified shares. Okay, so this is good news not only for Clayton, but for the entire county, because it's based upon the county income tax collections and what's taken place really over the last 18 months. And so this means that the county, basically the state does a calculation of about 90 days, and they look at 30 days in the balances, and they say, we've got excess and we're going to start giving you an additional supplemental. And I call it pennies from heaven. Why? Because it doesn't come every year, and it kind of drops down out of the sky and you get it one time and that's it. Okay? But it does set the tone for kind of the fact that there are extra dollars coming in to the town, and that means LIT is going better. So now, what I put here on this sheet is the way we like to start the budget is kind of discuss where you were for 24, and we need to get your 1782 statement, your overall pennies. We don't have that. We had that for, not for 24, but we need to get that. If you can email it to us,
Okay.
that would be helpful. And that sets your tax rate, and I'm sure you've looked at that. And you know, and that's the key point about where we are today with our number of pennies that we're collecting in Clayton, and that kind of drives where we need to go in 2025, right? So what we always want to do then next, step number 2, is look at the town and say, okay, you may qualify for an excess levy. You can qualify in 2 ways. Number 1, if you extended your services outside the town or in a certain area into the township or things like that. The other way is that if the growth quotient comes in higher for your area based upon basic population and or assessed value, then mainly assessed value, then we could look at that. And that calculation is actually done by the state in mid-year. Okay, so it'll be being done over the next couple of months, and that would tell us if you would grow higher than the standard of 4%. So if you look down there on step 4, we know that you're going to qualify for a levy that is 4% higher than 2024. Now, will that be a tremendous amount of money? No, it will not. Okay? And most people might say, well, wait a minute, how do we already know that? Because usually that doesn't come out until later in the year too. Well, the state fixed it for 24 and 25 at 4% for both years. Okay? So you're limited. Other than if your growth would be higher than that, and we'd look at that. Of Questions on that?
I mean, that just,
Yeah, I noticed you
it
raised that.
amuses me because, I mean, you know, in 2021 and 22 is 5%.
Yes, sir.
So, you know, at a time when we have inflation increasing more, they drop that lower for us, and
Yes,
so
sir.
it just cracks me up. But
Yeah,
we
and the
have-
reason was that the reason they did it is because they looked at the property tax bills across the state of Indiana, and by the way, the newspapers did that, and they said, oh, what's going to happen is everybody's property taxes are going to go up 17%. Well, Judd Wolf, former Plainfield business manager, he called me about a month ago and he said that news article isn't right. He said, I've looked at everything and it's gone up about 8% on the state website. And I said, exactly. It kind of made a good headline for everybody to go out and vote against whoever. You know, what can we say? So the issue is that in Indiana, our housing prices and all of our asset prices are have been outdated for so long that the assessed valuation is jumping up. So they were having severe jump up in the assessed valuation. The tax rate really wasn't changing that much unless you issued debt or went outside the maximum levy. And so what was happening is the tax bill was going up because everybody's value in their home was going up. Okay, so then the state said, oh my gosh, well, we gotta cap local government. Okay, so they capped schools except for referendums. They capped everybody at 4% for 2 years. So yes, it's going to make, in my opinion, it's going to make it kind of tough because we've got wage pressures, we've got insurance pressures, we've got all of that coming, and it's going to make it kind of tough when your major source of revenue is only going up 4%. Okay.
even though our assessed value has jumped leaps and bounds.
Well,
in the
again,
last
if
3
it's
years.
leaped and bounds over the last 3 years, then we can qualify or look at the excess levy. Okay? So if that calculation comes back and says we can grow 8%, you're still capped at 6%, but you could grow the difference between 4 and 6. Okay? The levy. And that's something we'll want to look at. And like I said, the calculations will be coming out when the new abstracts are put together by Nancy. Okay? So what we do is a lot of times, you know, I've worked in Westfield, Indiana for 21 years. We were growing at 12% per annum. We'd always have a excess levy built into our budget. Avon, they qualified last year. Brownsburg qualified last year. We build in an extra $50,000 or $100,000 during the budget process. You got to put it in there as a line item, and you say for public safety or whatever you want it to, because if you don't get it, if you don't build it in, you won't get it. If you build it in, you got to be prepared to take it out. Okay? So that's how we set the 25 budget up, or would recommend we set it up. And we'll know some more once we get some information out of the county auditor on what AVs, and they're working hard on it, obviously. The auditor's office hasn't rolled the numbers yet, but they're due to roll them in the next couple of months. So, okay.
Yeah,
Does
I
that-
know, looking over their 1782 notice for the last 3 years, it's definitely, just our AV has
Yeah.
shot up dramatically, but.
And so I'm assuming that you got no guidance in 24 and you did not appeal your excess levy.
Correct.
Okay, so that's something we'll want to stay on top of, throughout the year, from here on out. And like I said, there's a strategy and the way you have to do it. You have to pass a resolution even, and then we'll want to kind of match it up with your tax rate and see, make sure, where we're going with that. But if you've got the strong AV growth and then basically, I say it's matching up the revenues with the expenses that you're incurring because of the AV growth. Okay? Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay. And so there's a strategy on how you have to do that as you budget plan and get it approved through the DLGF. And it's it's going to be a tough road because last year they were adamant about only about 50% of the people got it. So you got to have it well documented, and you got to have your own a resolution. But we would walk you through all that. Okay. So the good news though is that in step B or step 4B, we ought to get it ought to grow more than 4%. Okay, we're thinking here in Hendricks County. Now remember, doesn't matter in Hamilton County, Boone County, Morgan County. It matters here in Hendricks County. It doesn't matter the income in Clayton, right? Everybody understands that. It doesn't matter about the Clayton income. It matters about the county's income. And so if the county income goes up and your share stays the same, I will tell you Brownsburg is going to get more. Avon's going to get more, of the pie. So your pie, I'm concerned that your proportion of the pie won't be as large. But if the pie grows in total, you still may be able to grow up to 6% on LIT. That's what we're hoping. Now, we've not done any of that analysis, and in the contract we kind of recommended the sustainability, looking forward 3 years and putting you on a path, and that's one of the things that we still kind of want to bring to your attention, okay? Because that spells out all of what I'm talking about. Okay, miscellaneous revenues. We know for a fact that auto excise probably isn't going to do much. FIT is not going to do much. Hopefully your interest income has increased and you're taking all that to the general fund, correct? So that's going to be a saving grace. Now, we do not recommend you budget that for payroll. We actually recommend what you do with that is you set it aside, you do a special movement to rainy day of any of what I call that extra interest. So when your interest turns around on you, if the feds turn the interest rate, we're projecting in 2026, it's going to get about halved. And in 25, it'll start sliding down some. So we could then bring it back out of the rainy day fund and use it for maybe one-time insurance payments or whatever, But if you use that for ongoing operations at the higher level, I guarantee you when we do this sustainability, it'll show you you're gonna hit a brick wall. It's not gonna feel good, okay? So we got across the state of Indiana, we got to be really careful with how we spend our interest income in the 25 and 26 budget, okay? So, I'm not the bearer of necessarily of bad news, but I started out on good news. You got your pennies from heaven, and but the answer is that's step A, B, and C is the fact of life within the budget setting process of 2025. Now, the keys every time we go into concerns on the 25 budget, it's what's going to happen on the insurance. The group health, the workman's comp, and I did you guys come up with a percentage that you're liable to increase here just moments ago on group health?
We don't have group health insurance.
Okay, so you don't have group health. at
Yeah,
all.
all
So
of
that
our
was more
employees-
workman's comp and
Right,
and
yeah, all of our
liability.
employees are already covered by their own insurance or
Gotcha.
part-time and don't need it.
Okay.
Yeah, so we
Okay.
don't have any full-time employees that are of the age that would need a
Okay.
town-provided health insurance.
Because that's the one we were having grow at 12%, and grow by a lot.
Right.
So that's awesome. So the next one would be what you would want to give as a payroll increase. And this we kind of go through this with a lot of our clients, and I put new employee if needed. I put the if needed because my assumption is, although a lot of people are trying to put on, either a half a police officer or a new police officer, and things like that, but I'm assuming you're not talking about any new employees for 25.
I don't think we need any new employees right now.
Good.
You want, oh,
No.
she wants a new employee.
The best way for additional police officers, keep in mind, I'm also the county's financial advisor. I should highly disclose that. So, and I've worked with them on their budgets for many, many, many years. So what we're trying to do and what we successfully did this year for all the other units of government is that we passed that public safety lit. And we passed it at 5 basis points. We took down the E911 fund. We didn't raise anybody's taxes, income tax fund, but we brought down the E911 fund that's being used countywide. That's been, at this point, very good news because they're getting supplemental. You can see on that one sheet, the county gets quite a bit, and but it shares with Brownsburg, Avon, and Pittsboro and Plainfield quite a bit. But it's funding the E911. So at some point in the time, the council would like to raise that from 5 basis points. Keep in mind, our tax rate here for LIT is 1.7%. Okay, so I'm talking 5 basis points of 1.7%. So what the council would like to do is look again at the mix of different income taxes coming in, and we're making the suggestion that we look at that for 25, and we might reallocate or put another 5 basis points in there. The plan that the council's trying to stay on is once they go there, they don't take it away because they understand. So it's going to be a very, very cautious move if we do that this year. It may be the following year. So my point would be, if you wanted a part-time police officer or something like that, that would be the time, because public safety, that's what it's intended for. Police, fire, that kind of thing. The garage door is fairly wide open, but it's not huge. Okay, so that's kind of one of those plannings. So if it doesn't come 25 and incomes stay high in Hendricks County, then it's likely we will do that in 26, and we're actually going to take it from the jail lit and reduce the jail lit, because we got our jail built, the new jail built. It's running really, really well. It came in, probably would cost us twice as much at this point in time to build it. We got it built a couple of years ago, now, and boy, it was the best thing we ever did. And because the cost would have been astronomical now. So, and it's functioning very, very well. So that's kind of, and then the other, we're just thinking there's not going to be a ton of money for other things. So you got to, that's where the other items will not go up that much. Okay, we got to keep our belt kind of tight. Does that make sense? And all those? Okay, so at some point you're gonna, what we're gonna say is, okay, we need to say, is it gonna be 3, 4, or 5%? And that's probably the relevant range I'm hearing right now is going to be 3% for 2025, at least statewide in what we're trying to do in a lot of places, maybe 3.5. So, questions on what I've covered so far? Okay, so step number 6 is what we'll want the clerk to be able to do is get a nice clean 6:30 cutoff. And Mike can tell you how many people are having problems reconciling their books, but I'm sure you're an old pro at it.
No, I tried.
And so that's awesome, because I guarantee you there's a lot of towns that their ships are sinking, and because they can't get their books and records reconciled, because it's getting harder and harder with all the gateway reports, with all this and this and this. So I've got to give you an atta girl if you're currently balanced. Good job. Okay, so that means that when we get to June 30th, that's your most critical report. You know that. because we'll be setting really an 18-month budget, right? So when we put together the budget for 25, it's a look back on what else is going to happen for the rest of July 1 to December 31 of this year, okay? And we can make a little tweaks in there if we have something that we're not going to spend the money on. We can do a line 2 adjustment, help us a little bit more in 2025, but that's called the art of budgeting. And I wasn't going to slap you upside the head with all those, okay? That's going to come later. So, and I wouldn't slap you upside the head anyways, because you might slap me back. So, but the June 30th, having as much as we can, all the revenue and all the expenses, and then the June report, getting the appropriation, you're on Keystone, right? And getting the appropriation report to the council and letting them see where we're overspent. Is that percentage spent 50%? Or is it 66%? And it might be because we had to pay our insurance bill the first half of the year. Okay, that's fine. But is there something inherently wrong in some of these appropriations? And that's going to be the key to what we're going to want to set that appropriation like for 25. Does that kind of make sense? So if we've got clean revenue, we got our MVH restricted, and our MVH non-restricted, 50-50, we got that all clean, it makes the 18-month look forward so much better. So I keep warning everybody, if you're behind on your reconciliations now, oh my gosh, you only have 30 days, okay, and less. So, and tomorrow, Saturday is June 1st, right? So I sped it up a little. Okay. Then, keeping in mind now, when and there's going to be a new version of Gateway. It's not going to come out since Fred left. It's probably going to be a year or two out. But remember, the cash balance it's actually going to turn red if it goes down and it may even do that this year. It'll turn red. So we will see on the new 1782 in the budget forms when we project them on the screen, which I'd love to do since you got great screens up there. You'll be able to see that the cash balance projected for the 6 months
Do
of
you want
this
me to
year.
find my last 1782 notice and put it up there?
Sure, throw it up there. She gave me the first page. The rest of the page is kind of, there's a couple more key pages that are pretty important. Do you have the whole thing there?
I do.
Okay. So if you can project it though, Doug, can I borrow the whole thing? And then if you can email it to us, I won't steal this from you, but, so by the way, our tax rate was 47 pennies. So we're dealing with 47 pennies. So, and your assessed valuation was 39 million. Well, so in here, tell me once you get it, Doug. In here, your general fund's estimated cash balance at the end of 23 was 168,000. Your ending cash balance for 24 was projected to be 182,000. So you had some cash balance increase there. So we could have done one of two things. The 316 might have been able to be a little bit higher, okay? And or we'd want to know if you overstated the miscellaneous revenues, not you personally, but maybe you depended on some of that interest income, okay? So what we want to do, and what you would then see as we go through the budget process for 25, the 23 would be the end of 24, and the other number would be the end of 25. So it'll actually show you fund by fund what it will do, okay? And so I'll just pass this around while Doug's getting that up, and you can see in this first column, that's the general fund, and you can see the lines that say ending cash balance. So what you want to see there, again, not only in 25, but that rolls forward in 26 and 27. So that's why we keep saying you really need to do your budget in a 3-year look ahead, okay? It's important if you're trying to put yourself in a certain direction. So one, I was gonna say, if you'll go 2 pages back, probably Doug, we're on, that page. So right there, you see if Doug put his cursor down on line 9, that's the 168. And then if you arrow down a little further or go down a little further, you're going to see the 182, and it's right there, that bold number that says 182. And so line 18. Glad I took my eye test, even though I'm going to the doctor tomorrow to get my update if I need one. So the 182 there. So that's when I say in number 7, we've got to think about where we wanted to go with those cash balances, and if you want to maintain them, or if you want to, I wouldn't recommend depleting them because they wouldn't go too far with 168,000. Okay, so that's what I'm hitting on 7. Question on
But
that?
spending some of those is okay, because especially with the amount of, that we have for the cash balance, like, I mean,
Yeah, you again.
like for one-time purchases. Like
Absolutely.
the police department wants new radios this year,
Okay.
which they've, updated the type of radio they work with within the county. And so, to me, that kind of makes sense to, let's find a way to purchase new radios. Although I know EMA is
Yeah,
trying to work with me on grants, so.
Right.
But if we budget a one-time expense and then get a grant, then, I mean,
and Doug, you even bring up a good one in Hancock County. I'm their financial advisor too. I do the powerhouse counties, and we actually ended up buying everybody radios, and that's something you could even suggest to your county council member or county commissioner, because that's they may, I know, for the Brownsburg and Avon and Plainfield, they've got so much horsepower they can do it themselves. But for all the little people out here, smaller places out here, that's not a bad place for them to put some of their public safety money. So stay tuned. Let's get back with me on that. But so,
because I know they,
so this necessitates what I recommend to every town. We need a 5-year capital improvement plan. Okay? And if it's only 5 lines, that's fine. It's spread out on a piece of paper. And like those. We need new radios, and it's going to cost $20,000 for the radios or whatever. Radios are kind of expensive.
$36,000.
Okay, I wasn't too far off. I was going to go higher, but I was afraid you'd throw a radio at me.
Right.
So we need to find grant opportunities, and I'm not speaking for the county, obviously, but that is a place that they've thought about and looked at. So, and that's why I tell everybody, get your 5-year, brainstorm, get your 5-year capital improvement plan together, because you just don't know. And if you make us aware, then, sometimes we travel in 92 counties on one day. I can almost, I know what's going on around the state of Indiana and what might be possible. So, question?
Well, yeah, I just noticed that this
1782?
1782 notice, the date was 2020. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Never mind.
3 for 4. Yep.
Came
Got
out
it.
in
Okay.
November. Which I always thought that this was backwards, because if we're gonna put a budget together based on this 1782 notice, why do we wait till November to get it after we've already passed our budget? I just think.
Well, because
like,
the great
why-
gods downtown have to bless it.
I guess.
Yeah,
It's
I
just,
call it.
Give me,
I
give
call
me
it-
my numbers that I need to work with so that I can make a budget based on
Yeah.
the projection of here's my AV and my tax rate.
And it's the way the data comes out
I
and works
guess.
out. Yeah, I call it. They have to take it in the dark, deep basement of their house and work it. Who's our field rep here? Miranda or?
Not anymore. Sam
Vander-
Vander Veen.
Ooh, okay.
Sam Vander
okay.
Veen's our new.
Yeah, so
person.
we need to keep an eye on Sam. Yeah.
We need to train him.
Yeah, we're used to doing that. I've done that for a lot, and then I've got the old rookie or the real guy, George Helton, who's been up in northern Indiana for 25 years. So, so that's going to be important. Now, one of the things I noticed on here, we don't have a CCD fund, and you've never had a CCD fund.
We've
It's-
talked about it for a couple of years, we just not ever pulled the trigger on it,
So it does raise your tax rate about, it can, a CCD fund, what is it? I should explain. It's a Cume Capital Development Fund. What's it used for? Pay-as-you-go capital, radios. Maybe
A new
replacing the roof.
Right.
Things like that. And so it's supposed to accumulate. Its maximum tax rate is 0.0333. I know I'm an accountant, and you might say, well, isn't that a little bit, why'd you use that specific number? That's in the statute. 0.033. So 3.33 pennies. Okay, is the max it can go. You could approve 5 pennies and they won't give you. It's 3 pennies. Actually, the first year it goes to 0.01667 pennies. That's what so there's a process.
Per $100 value.
Yes, there's a process of enacting it. The good news is, and a taxpayer might throw a tomato at me, but if you go down to the next page, okay, it is outside your maximum levy. So stay right there. So does everybody see the UTs? If it has a UT by it, then it works down here in the bottom. So that 185 comes down here to the box down here. And see how that says control UT working max 185? You are $10 away from your maximum levy. So at this point in time, you couldn't levy anymore, okay? But if you look at, if you had a CCD fund, then that 185 at the top would be, let's say, higher by $20,000, $15,000, and you'd get bonus bucks down at the bottom. You'd get an add of 15,000. So it's outside the maximum levy. It wouldn't have a UT by it. Okay? So that's the good news, and the bad news is it does change the tax rate. The good news is it accumulates and gives you a way to not have to bond for when the roof falls on top of your head. And or I've had a lot of wind damage in a lot of communities, and they've had to do repairs, and so it would give you money for that you can't necessarily get out of. You've got awful small budgets, in relationship to what today it costs. So that's something you have to, you will have a process that you have to do that. I think we've actually passed the date for 25 budget, so we'd have to look at it for 26. And we'd want to do it in the first quarter of, I'm going to double check the statute. I don't think that was extended, but I'll let you know. But I think you usually have to do that in the first quarter or two of
By May
25.
31st, right?
Yeah,
You have to
I
have
think
it
that's
finished by the end of May,
Yeah,
and remonstrance period and everything has to be done.
correct. Right. So that's kind of, I guess that's why we're here. We're trying to coach you for not only today, but for tomorrow and the day after, okay? Because there's things that take time to get to, okay? So that brings up, how you could interact that with step number 2 or step number 8. And then step number 9, everybody, I know you do not have a TIF allocation area. It's for a town, it's not unheard of. And right now in 2025, a lot of people, if you went to an AIM or something like that, or talk to Avon, or they're going to start, as time goes on, they're going to start being able to use, the statute got changed. You can use TIF dollars for public safety operations now. That floodgate was opened up by the legislature about a year or 2 ago. So everybody's looking at it for 25 now, and being able to subsidize. Now, puts them on a tough slope because TIFs go away, and there's certain representatives that are gonna cap them at 25 years, absolutely coming this year. For a 20, that'll be new legislation that will get enacted for 25. The people were doing forever TIFs again, and so, you know, that's not the intent of the legislature, so they're gonna close that door. So, if you had either a residential TIF or a commercial area that we could do as a TIF, then that's something you'd wanna start planning for in the future. And I think Charlie indicated that you and him talked, that might be something you would do in the future, or look at.
Yeah, we had, so we have a property owner on the south side of town, has some 60-some acres that he's been, and it's agricultural
I
land
take the
right now.
shortcut, so I know
Right.
exactly where you're
So
going.
he's been in discussions with a developer, and the developer wants municipal water. So he's been actually reaching out to other places, and I'm kind of like, I don't want you to get water from Plainfield if it's a Clayton community. So my thought was, what we voted on, you know, exploring the redevelopment commission and then a TIF district last month, and so is start working on, get this idea kind of hammered out of, we go to the developer and say, we'll create a TIF district around this geographic, you know,
Sure.
rectangle that you want to do this development in. You put in a water tower, a pump, and subterranean main lines for, you know, all these houses you're going to build, and then make it so that we could extend this into the older part of Clayton later on if we need to, but then you would get paid back by the TIF
Right.
money,
Right.
as long as we put that in that, write that in the
Yeah.
TIF language.
And where would you get the source of water then? Okay, right here, that's what I thought.
We have more water than you can shake a stick at underneath Clayton. It's,
Yeah, I think,
I mean,
I
there are
think I
some-
have that same problem.
yeah, there are some properties in town that, you know, try to put a fence post in, and they're like, there's
Yeah.
water bubbling up.
And it appears
Right.
even at my place, you know, which I'm down by 70, that, you know, the water's not bad. I don't have any, I have a normal filter on it and a softener, and I don't get any hired. Remember, I do a lot of water utilities all over the state of Indiana, and first thing I do is go to the bathroom and look for the yellow stain, you know, and I know exactly what the issue is. And so it seems like here we've got good water in the area. So yes, that's all doable. We kind of act as the financial advisor on any of that gets put together from the financial end. I mean, we've been doing that pretty aggressively with Pittsburgh too, recently, and getting some things done with their water utility and sewer utility with developers. So, you know, that's a real possibility if you've got somebody that's going to build homes. So that's kind of how we wanted to get your feet wet for the 2025 budget, and then I guess, you know, questions on that, any of that. And I hope we kind of covered what you wanted to cover, you all.
Right. Well, and like I know, with looking at our cash,
The fund
the ending
report.
cash balance, December 31st, 2023, we had a cash balance of, you know, lots of different items that were over and above, you know, we didn't break even kind of thing.
Right.
So we have these extra funds. So spending that, you know, on especially one-time purchases, whether it's police radios or, you know, putting money into, you know, a fund for a new roof, or, I mean, that's all available money to us. We just have to budget it
Correct.
for next year.
And you don't have a rainy day fund, right?
Yeah, we do.
Oh, you do? Okay, so the best thing is to put it in the rainy day fund.
So rainy day fund, you can put
Up to
up to 15%?
15% of your budget. So you could put up to 31,000, you know, you could put up to about 45,000. And I would recommend you really look, that's again, you know, where you put you say interest is 25, You don't say, well, we're moving the 25 over, you gotta have but you're in essence saying you're moving 25 over, and then you budget it. We always recommend everybody in the rainy day fund, how much is the balance in the rainy day fund?
15,273.
15,000. So, we always say put emergency line item in there for 5 or 10, if it's that amount. 10,000, and call it emergency. So if the roof does come off, you've got a place to go. And the reason why we say that is you don't have to have a special council meeting, and you could replace the roof tomorrow if it left. Okay? So if you put it in there, you've got the authority to spend it on an emergency. So that's a good budget practice to have. Line item called emergency. Okay? But that's something that would also be good to do before June 30th, because then it right sizes the June 30th balance. So in other words, you could do it at your June meeting, right? And
So we take 15% of what
Up
was
to.
left over from last year's cash.
It's technically up to 15% of your current budget is technically, but not what's left over. Okay? That's the way the statute reads.
Right, because what's left over, I mean, the way I'm looking at it, is almost 3 times what our normal
What was
yearly
the
budget
ending
is.
balance at the end of 12/31? 204. So 204, and in here they project it 180, 168. So it's about 40,000 higher, right? Because in our 17, if you go back one more page, right?
So the only number you can look at is general fund on that cash balance. You can't look at any of the other, like our,
They don't receive
Or-
property taxes. You can't take ARPA and transfer it or anything like
well,
that.
yeah,
right?
no, I mean,
Yeah.
we've already
Right. So
spent that, but,
no, it's,
Okay.
it's basically the general fund.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, not the overall MVH or anything like that.
But don't
left
you
in.
have to transfer that money by like March 31st or something of the, like, next year?
No, that statute changed, and if
Did it
You're-
used to be that?
your local, yeah, it
Am I
did.
thinking wrong?
Yeah, no, you weren't. But remember, this is a fast and furious world. A lot is changing. So, and I always say, subject to your town attorney, but we can do the calculation, and Charlie can give him the site from our office if you need it. So, and Graham is your attorney, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and Graham knows this stuff. So, okay, other questions? Other things you wanted me to cover?
And you're pretty confident that the 4% is a done deal, that there's not any, they're not changing that at all?
No.
But if we did a levy appeal,
If you
like what
qualify.
we talked about,
Yes.
if we find a qualifying
Yeah.
reason to do that, especially looking at, which I think from looking at our past 1782 notices, the last 3, with just the difference in the AV, I mean,
Yeah, there's a exacting calculation that has to be gone through.
all right.
And. the
So I would
state-
need to get you all 3 1782
No,
notices
well,
in a year.
we would like that, but we'll actually get it from the abstract levy. It has to be the abstract that Nancy provides to
Oh,
the
okay.
state. So that's what we would use. And, we get them we get them statewide every year. So we probably already have them.
Okay.
So Charlie can do a quick calculation and at least we can do a spot check and see if we have to wait on the next, the one coming out right now, which that might be the even higher. So it's one of those, since you didn't do it this year, you can sometimes go back 3 to 4 years. We actually took Auburn, Indiana, almost back 7 and was able to do it. So, but, depends on who's in the state. So.
All right.
So
Any other
I am going to say absolutely, but obviously, if Jeff Thompson and all the boys and girls heard something really, really, bad, And, you know, they could always change the law, this is a long session, I believe, coming up. Something could always change, but at this point in time, no, it was fixed for 2 years.
Okay.
And I stay pretty close to, a lot of the, especially our local legislators. Jeff is always, talking to the county and everything and letting everybody, know what's going on.
All right, anybody else have any questions for Greg?
Well, Mike, do you have any follow-up? Think I missed anything? Good. So we always, we always have somebody else involved from the office, kind of. So if Doug, if you need to call Charlie or call Mike and if I'm out, because I'm out and about a lot of meetings and things like that. So, so we work on the projects as a team, so.
And then with the, you talked about the radios, is the best group for me to go and ask about would be the or the county council or the county commissioners?
Right? Well, I would contact both. So we have, Eric Watham is the council president. And who's your rep here? Is it Dennis or Gentry? Bob.
Gentry. Bob.
Okay, then I would contact Bob. And not that they're looking for places to spend money, but I think they are out there listening to a lot of local, the smaller group. And they've helped Liberty Township that the council has. And so, it never hurts to ask, right? All you can do is get a hell no. And they said, who told you to say that? If you get the hell no, don't tell them Greg. So,
Okay.
but, maybe, because like I said, other counties, we put together a program, we're providing it countywide to try and get everybody
Well,
in the
and
same system.
the new EMA director, she's offered to look for grants in the name of the county, but then funnel it to Clayton.
Yeah.
Because, Clayton's, median household income is so high that we don't get grants here.
Yeah, and yeah, and but I've got a lot of people that have tried in the past, and the grants for radios have been tough recently. That's my understanding, and so maybe there's worthy cause. So
Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you all, and you got your 1782, but we'd love to have a copy of it.
And here's,
The signed agreement.
the sign.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. I'll give that to the boss there. And if nothing else, thank you and have a great evening.
All right, thank you.
And if you could maybe even get your last two 1782s,
Okay.
because those are downloadable off of Gateway, the 1782. So if you set maybe the last three, including the one for 24.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be helpful.
Okay.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
See you.
Have a good evening. Thanks.
Thank you.
Who has my 1782?
Here it is.
One last thing for the afternoons.
I have probably the last 3 or 4 on my laptop at home also, but So if-
I got it all.
okay.
I keep them all.
if you need me to email them, I can, or if you want to do it, that's fine. So I handed you guys this email from Chief Remender,
Oh, yeah.
and that was the radio issue was brought up. It's $5,850 for one radio. So Chief Remender was requesting, can we purchase one radio? So I thought, let's look at other things, and I talked to EMA. They think we could get a grant, but obviously Greg thinks I could even approach county council, county commissioners, and get county funds, the 911 public safety money, to help buy radios. Either way, that would be super helpful. I was just thinking, why not just get them 6 instead of 1? But if they'll help us with grants, then that'll make that
Yeah.
easy to do on that kind of thing for next year. And then he's Chief Remender's asked for a gas budget increase for the vehicles, an increase of $1,500 over what we did last year. He's also asked for an increase in the vehicle maintenance of $1,500 as well. And then equipment increase of $750 a year and training increase of $500 a year. So those are all, item 1 is the single one-time purchase. 2, 3, 4, and 5 are continual budget increases over remaining years. So that'd be a lot of increase, but so I don't know if we'd have a way to pull that out of something else, or like if FSG were able to get us the excess levy appeal, get the other 2%, that might help with that part. And then also, Jenny, you held up the other one from Graham, our legal counsel. He said that the last time he had an increase in his rate was 2017. I wasn't on the council then, so I don't know what, but so he's asked for an increase for per meeting up to $500 from the $275. And then his hourly rate increased to $240 per hour, which his office said he charges other clients $250 an hour, so he's giving us a discount. So those are those pieces of information I had for budget numbers for next year. Anybody else have any other budget numbers that they needed to look at?
I wanna know about HWC.
Okay,
Are we gonna keep paying them out the rear for, I mean, every month it's like thousands of dollars. Or
Yeah,
if it's something that's gonna be every year, it needs to be put in the budget, cause I'm having a hard time finding money to pay them. I've been taking it out of sidewalks. HWC,
HWC Engineering handles our pavement asset management plan.
so is it something that we have
they-
to do every year?
Yes,
Well, then-
if we want to be eligible for community crossing matching grant. If we don't want to do community crossing matching grants, we can drop the PAMP and then stop paying that. But I
Well,
just,
I mean, it's like, every time
Well, if
we
we
get
are
it's
gonna pay
like,
it, I mean, if we
we're
have to
gonna
pay
do
it,
this.
put it in here. I
Yeah.
mean,
I
instead
just
of.
wanna
Absolutely,
make
yeah,
sure
yeah,
I put enough
absolutely.
money in for it.
which,
Yeah.
yeah, we definitely need to budget for that.
So okay, I don't know what we're gonna go through tonight, but is this something that me and Judy can work on the budget, and then maybe we could, like on the 13th, come in at 6 o'clock and look over the budget before the meeting starts at 7, just to
Okay.
look
Everybody's
at it?
gonna know.
The other thing is, it's a couple of the classes that Pete and I went to, they talked about pavement asset management and community crossing matching grants and stuff. We could technically learn how to do this ourselves. I mean, obviously, it'd take, a few days for us to kind of go through all the stuff, but, and I might have to reach out. There were a few people on the municipal network that talked about doing their own. So if we could do that ourselves, then we could stop paying HWC or any engineering firm to handle that part of it, as long as we submit the appropriate information to NDOT every year prior to applying for a community crossing matching grant. Because when HWC wants to update our PAMP, they make me log in, and then they tell me what numbers to put in on the NDOT site, and then, so if that's all it takes,
Why aren't we paying you?
because you can't, I'm not allowed to get, if I'm on the town council, I'm getting money here, I'm not allowed to get any more money from the town, so that's, Graham has put his foot down on that. He said, no, you can't get more money, so
Okay, so.
that's why.
If that's okay, then we'll work on this and kind of highlight the ones that we change. I have a question.
Okay,
Judy is, how much are you making an hour, Judy, 17?
1763.
1743. I feel.
you got a raise?
Evidently.
Weren't we calling her $17 an hour all the time? We always called her $17 an hour.
I feel it would be easier just to make her a salaried employee and her just make a certain amount every month, every week, or every 2 weeks, so that we don't have to go through the rigmarole of keeping track of time. Because she comes like every Tuesday, every Thursday, anytime it's the first of the month to do sewer bills. So this is what I want you guys to think about. If we paid her $750 every 2 weeks, it'd be $18,000 a year. Right now, she's making,
It's too- too
10,
bad.
I think, which
I don't know.
is just something I want you to think about. Even $500 every 2 weeks, which would be $12,000, would be more than what she's making now. It's not like I'm trying to get her a raise, I'm trying to make it easier on me.
So there. I think that answered the whole thing right there, didn't it?
Yeah. I mean, salaried certainly is easier. It just,
Yeah.
if you do extra above and beyond those
That's true.
hours, then
Then you're not getting
you're,
paid.
I mean,
Yeah.
I know I'm a salaried employee also. If I work, 12 hours a week, I get to pay the same as if I work 36 hours a week. So, but it's, just kind of one of those
Well, I just want you
There's-
guys to think about that.
ups and downs to it on both sides. So, but we can certainly think about that. And the other things we need to think about with increases, do we need to encumber money related to the parking lot across the street, or is that, did we establish an amount of money that we were gonna spend on that parking lot?
I believe we put it in the budget, didn't we? Didn't we put like 25,000 in the budget for the parking lot?
So,
Maybe. Parking lot construction, 25,000.
Yeah. So we do have that in there for this year.
Okay, and I think our last
Oh, wait, it's a park.
bids
it's park-
didn't,
It's a parking lot. PARKJING. It's a
It was
parking
close.
lot construction, 25,000.
okay,
Yeah, so that's already, there's just a lot of times, like when we bought the property across the street, it's like, where's that money gonna come from,
yeah,
I just wanna be a little bit more ready for something next year.
right. And then, we passed our ordinance to allow the county to collect taxes to give to the township for next year. We still haven't taken care of, paying for anything for this year service. So, as far as an additional appropriation of that, 29,000 he was asking for this year, at some point along the way, we'll just need to figure out how to come up with that, I guess.
For who?
For the Liberty Township,
Oh, yeah.
for the fire department, for the fire EMS, to cover the expenses for this year. Even though it was super helpful finding that law that we can pass an ordinance and get it out of our hair for next year, we just haven't done anything for this year yet.
Yeah, because we only put 5,000 in for maintenance down there, so. Okay.
Do we have anything else in the budget that we need to talk about increasing or decreasing?
Doug, what, when you was talking about, sealing the cracks in the streets, if we start doing that, there's nothing in the budget right now.
No,
for
we
that.
haven't done that.
Yeah, and which that would come out of motor vehicle highway, correct? I mean, that would be
Right.
part of whatever we have in there,
Yeah.
which each year we have a total of about 70,000 or 68,000, somewhere in that range. 83,000.
This year's was eight.
And then, although some of that has to go, I mean, some of that we're appropriating for the grant match for CCMG, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So we
no. Yes, sorry, yes.
just, and do we have that budgeted for next year again, also another match for a CCMG?
We will.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I think that's helpful to keep up on the streets and, come up with another plan and that kind of stuff. And like I said, Pete and I can look at that and try to figure out a way to lessen the amount we're paying to HWC.
Yes.
It doesn't seem like it's super complicated. We've also had the training on how to do the PASA rating, so we can do our own PASA rating, we can do our own. The way to rate the pavement
Oh,
quality, so there's a scale of 1 to 10, and obviously NDOT won't give you a grant to fix a level 8, 9, or 10, because that's still considered good quality or new street. They'll only give you a grant to cover, the lesser streets, so, but we have a lot of streets that are in the 4, 5, and 6 range, and
I see.
so we need to,
I didn't know that terminology.
gotcha, yeah. I don't know what it stands for, but pavement, something,
Yeah. That's it.
surface. Anyway, but that's why we went to that class, to learn how to do the rating ourselves. So we can learn how to do the PAMP ourselves, and then all we have to do is start uploading the information.
Okay. George and Mindy brought their stuff back today, and George will bring his keys tomorrow, because he still had to go do another test tomorrow.
Okay,
They brought the IMGIS stuff back and gave it to Pete.
okay. Oh, the IMGIS guy asked if we sign that contract after we
Yeah,
approved it last
yeah,
month?
'cause he needed
Okay,
it.
so I just need to email it to him or get it to him somehow.
Okay.
But, and then, so you'll reach out to wastewater operators corp tomorrow and, get them keys. And I mean, they asked if, there was an opportunity to maybe meet with George and,
Well, we better meet tomorrow.
Well, they'll be back, I mean,
Yeah,
I'm sure George will meet up with them.
okay,
yeah.
That's what they say.
very good.
When you talk to him, you might give him George's number to give, so you can give George a call.
Yeah. But they'll be back.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments? Things for the good of the order. All right, consensus to adjourn. Okay. I will adjourn.